Hi, welcome to the Momwire series. My name is Lynn Bodner. I am your host, and I am hosting chats on the stories of momming. Basically, I'm in a quest to create a conversation around the role and the expectations of motherhood and momming. And today, I am speaking with Jodie Howard. Welcome, Jodie. She is a very gifted healer. Oh my gosh, she's like just one of those people you go, hey, we should do this. And like, she already has it done. She's like a get it done person. She's amazing to me. She's brilliant. She's a fellow mother of four. So we get each other, and she's got a really cool business going. If you ever want to check her out, her website is EssentialJodie.com. But today we're going to talk about curveballs. I think we all get them. We all have them. We all experience them. It's what we do with them that matters. And Jodie, I know you have a huge story to share, and I would just love to hear that. If you want to head off and talk about one of the major curveballs that you experienced in your life.
Well, absolutely. Thank you for having me, Lynn. This is wonderful. I love being a part of this conversation. And absolutely, I have had plenty of curveballs, just like all of us. And definitely there are some that are kind of a bit more of a curve than others, I guess we could say.
More curvy.
Yeah. They hit a little harder than others.
One that like wipe you off your feet and you land on your butt and you go, where am I?
Exactly. So for me, the one in particular that I'm referring to was our third daughter, or our third child. She actually has cerebral palsy. And it was something that honestly, we had no idea when I was pregnant with her. Everything was quote unquote normal and everything was flowing along in a routine pregnancy, and we had a routine regular delivery, and there were no warning signs or flags at that moment, if you will. But I will say, whenever I think back to this, I am really grateful for quiet moments in the hospital. That very first night that my kind of mother instinct felt like something was slightly off or different. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I just felt something. And I think that also harkens back to just that intuition that we all have, and hold on to it and learn to try to listen to it.
For sure.
Because I was really grateful in the following months of things that I had no idea was yet going to happen in the next 9 months to 3 years of her life, that it was very helpful for me to remember that moment, that this was probably honestly something that happened long before she was delivered, but we really didn't know exactly what was happening or how things were going in the months to follow. And so in the months that did follow, she, in a nutshell, she wasn't reaching a lot of her milestones, but it was close enough, or she was really engaging and she still is an extremely engaging individual, that there wasn't a lot of cause for alarm at that point in time. And again, I still kind of felt something was up, being my third baby at this point. And then it wasn't until she was, we went through different forms of seizures. She had multiple seizure disorders that occurred, from complex partial to infantile spasms, which is a really kind of sinister, for lack of a better term, type of seizure disorder, especially in infants. And all of this is happening, and in the midst of it, we also discovered she had a heart condition. Things were just kind of, this was from about the 6-month mark was when it really started to snowball in a really kind of spiraling outward, or out of control, or so it felt. And it was just, at the time though, I was very much focused on, I just need to get her to the next appointment and see what's going on and see what's happening, because I knew things were not quite right, for lack of a better word. That's how it felt at that point in time.
Yeah. Did you feel like you were like really, truly, whether you intended it or not, living in the moment, because it really was moment to moment?
Absolutely. I do. I mean, I felt every moment felt also very overwhelming. It was interesting because at the same time, I felt like time was moving super slowly, because it just seemed like I was in this alternate universe, because so many things are happening, and we were at one point seeing 6 or 7 different specialists within a 6-month window. We suddenly had 7 different specialists we were seeing, and therapy appointments pretty much daily. And meanwhile, I had 2 other children, and oh, by the way, my husband's in the Navy and he's gone most of the time. So there's kind of that little added perk. But we won't even go to that. That's a whole nother conversation.
Curveball, curveball, curveball.
Yeah. And I thought I kind of had that one down, but this just added a new layer for sure as to how to even try to, like, finding a new normal wasn't even yet a thought. Like, it was just, I was still too much in the topsy-turvy space of it and living in the moment, so much so that I couldn't quite see too far ahead. And I just needed to be, I was in survival mode, and I didn't recognize it at the time, but I definitely was just in a space of survival mode. And how do we all get up and get, through our day and get to these appointments and see what's happening with her and best help her along with the other children in the household at the same time.
Wow. And that's just, let's be honest, that's just a few comments about the start of the story, right? There's been there's been a whole series of things that you've experienced. And I'm curious, have you found that either at the time or since then, this particular thing, did you start questioning your beliefs? Did you start questioning what's going on? Did you start, why do I think what I think type of thing?
Absolutely. I question a lot of, wait, wow, why, of course, why me? Why us? We have enough other curveballs, like I said, my husband being in the Navy and, other kind of quote unquote hardships. I was a healthy young, individual. There weren't any indicators or markers. And so it really felt out of left field. And so as I was questioning so many things, I also found myself on a mission and a bit of I need to kind of figure out what's going on here and get to the bottom of it. Because when I used the term cerebral palsy, that was years later when that diagnosis was finally given. And honestly, it's not truly a diagnosis. It's more just a symptom of symptomatic things that we now can acknowledge. At some point in time, there was lack of oxygen in her brain, and we believe it was in utero, but there's no way to pinpoint that. But in the meantime, when I didn't know this and we were seeing all these other indicators, I personally felt like I need to, as a mom, you need to figure this out, because how can I fix this, or how can I take care of this child if I don't know what it is she needs or what it is she's dealing with? So I really became a bit of a sleuth, and this was 18 years ago. So the internet wasn't quite as, accessible, and it was that kind of fine line where, do I really want to look at things on the internet or not? But I did a lot of research and tried to figure it out. And I spent a lot of energy with her specialists, a lot of it on my own, just trying to kind of put these pieces together. And I think for me, the biggest thing, and one of the lessons learned from it, is that as I spent these years searching for what was wrong and what needed to be fixed, and it took me years, that I started to come up with, I didn't really have a lot of clear answers. There wasn't a lot showing up. And we did a lot of testing, a lot of things that, thank goodness, ended up being negative results, because a lot of them had very different paths that we probably would have ended up on. But at the same point, I kept searching and searching, and I started to, I think things started to slow down a little bit. And I was able to get a little quieter and kind of start to just be with her and observe and participate in that moment with her, rather than trying to solve this. I started to come to this understanding that there was nothing to solve. There was nothing wrong here. There was nothing. This was who this child was meant to be, and this is the family she is meant to be with. Therefore, I can stop this great investigative work. Yes, we still support her and do all these things, but there wasn't anything to be fixed. And that took me many years to get to that point. And there's still times I catch myself jumping into let's move into fix it mode. But that, I think, is one of the biggest lessons. I don't know if I jumped ahead here, but
no, not at all. No, I mean, as I introduced you, you're a get it done person. You really are.
It is true.
and you laser in. And I think you were her mom for a reason. And absolutely. I think, it touches my heart. I get a little teary. It's just how amazing you are through this whole process, because it's like you jumped right in, you laser focused, you felt like it was all on you. Mm-hmm. And it was all on you. And I think a lot of us moms feel that way, whether we have special needs or whatever. It's ours to figure out. And if we don't figure it out, we're not working hard and we're not coming up with a solution. And by the way, you had 2 other little ones that you had to develop them in their lives. And so there could have even been some mom guilt, maybe at times. We all have it going, oh crud, I haven't taken them to the piano.
They haven't eaten today. No.
They have eaten breakfast. It's dinner. Mommy. Right. And so there's that, like, that whole mom thing going on. And, but what I'm learning from you is that you really, you were able to learn through that process and redefine the situation and yourself and your daughter and your family, because you were willing to go, hey, hang on. What do I need to fix here?
Yeah, nothing. And it is true. It was definitely a slow learned process and hard fought, I guess you would say. I think I personally fought it because I went into, like you said, there's something to fix here. There's something to do. This is my job as mother. How do I help her if I'm not doing this? And therefore, if she doesn't reach these milestones or do these things, then am I somehow failing as her mother, that I can't potty train her like I can potty train my other children, even though I knew there was extenuating circumstances, yet it still became this sort of, I remember one time going to my pediatrician and I was just getting frustrated because, we were working really hard on this potty training, even though we'd already been diagnosed with cerebral palsy. And we were getting the daytime thing, but the nighttime thing was just so still, just not. And she looked at me and she's like, Jodie, it's okay. We have pull-ups. There are solutions. Allow yourself to use these things and not, be getting her up in the middle of the night to try to conquer this particular thing. And I think I divined so much. We have these goals that we set, or whoever sets it for us, right? This is how we, train our children and do things. And whether they have certain requirements or not, there were still certain things that I really knew she was capable or wanted her to be capable of doing. And to this day, she's 18 and we've got the daytime thing down and we don't have the nighttime thing down. But you know what? We have amazing resources that we can use for that, and it's all okay. But little things like that it just took me time to still step back and say, it's okay. This is just a different way. It's not wrong. It's just different. And who says, it needs to be this particular way anyways?
Exactly. I love that you said that. Who freaking says? I mean, like, who says? And I love also the way you said we, when really it was like her diagnosis. So the doctor said for her, or she can do this, or this would support her or whatever. But everything in mom world is we. Yeah. And I love that. So I'm curious to know, and I kind of even hate asking this question, but it's reality. Did you have to navigate on top of all of that, any painful comments from unaware people? Did you have to navigate any judgments? She's wearing a pull-up and she's 5. Was there any? Okay, there was.
Absolutely. And it was interesting. I think it happened more when she was younger, or maybe I've just gotten into a space where I don't really acknowledge it or even it's on my radar anymore, because I think as a mom, I was more self-conscious and more trying to figure out how to, introduce my child into this world or bring her into spaces that we needed, extra equipment, or she needed to be carried differently, or she couldn't just sit and eat like everybody else and it would she'd make a huge mess, or whatever the case may be. And so, unfortunately there were always sometimes where someone, and sometimes it's the strangest thing, it's the people closer to you that you don't expect that will say something like, well, maybe if you stopped carrying her and just made her, get on her legs, she could go walk on her own. And I thought, you remember that she has cerebral palsy, right? Like, I remember that one distinctly. But what I do encourage and I do love is the wonder of children. They'll see her in her wheelchair, in her walker, with her leg braces. She wears orthotics and her leg braces. And I love when I see children who, of course, they're just being curious or looking or observing the world around them, and that they just ask really simple questions. They'll just say, a lot of times it comes out, what's wrong with her legs or what, because they see them kind of bandaged up, and sometimes, parents try to shoo the child away, and I'm like, no, let's have this conversation. I mean, I appreciate it, and let's talk about this right now, and I generally would just say to a child, her legs just aren't as strong as yours, so she needs support, or she needs help walking, or, she uses those to strengthen her so she can get around and do the things you can do. And so that's always kind of, I definitely encourage that. And the older, again, I think I get, the more comfortable I am with it and having the conversation in my own because I've figured it out. But I think in the beginning, I was like, I don't even know what to say or what to do because I'm not even sure what's happening right now. So, but unfortunately, I think people oftentimes they don't really think before they speak sometimes. And it was moving to a space of not taking it personally, but saying, okay, at least a conversation is being had in some ways. I would prefer the conversation to be talked about rather than shushed or, not.
Mhm. Which I think is heroic on your part and your family's part. I really do, because here you are dealing with everything that you're dealing with, which is physically exhausting. And then mentally you're trying to process this and get into the space where you can be kind of centered enough to go, yeah, I can talk. Like I have my PR statement. I have my what to say to little kids, and kids are so much awesomer.
Mm-hmm.
They're so awesome about the way they just kind of put it there and go, I don't understand. Your legs don't work. What's the deal? And why do we get away from that as adults and add like a judgment to it? Not like, well, don't I wish? And then I've always been afraid to walk up to or somebody and go, I would love to say, why don't your legs work? But then somebody would be like, well, you idiot. Cause you know what I mean? Like you're supposed to know cause you're an adult. So there's that whole awkward thing, but I love that whole process you went through, as painful as it was, because I think you create an awareness for the rest of us to go, yeah, just show that you care, but think about maybe how would you want to be talked to if that were you, And I have another question for you. In the thick of all of that, I think some of the things we've talked about together in our friendship over time is being able to embrace the challenge in it. We can then see the meaning behind it. And so if somebody were to say that to you during the process, like, oh, embracing that challenge, you'll really understand what the meaning is here. Because some of it is how we talk to each other. Some of it, you could write a book. Maybe you should. But there's times you can receive that and there's times that you can't. And so like, what do you think about that? What do you think about just even supporting and encouraging another mom in whatever they're experiencing? Like, how do we, any thoughts on navigating that timing?
I think the timing is really challenging because it really would depend on where I was in my moment of my day and where I might have been able to receive that first thing in the morning. I might have gotten news that you have no idea of and no awareness of. And now suddenly I've moved to a different space. And unfortunately, there's no way for you to know that. And so I definitely, I find it more helpful to I love it when people do just check in and just, how are you doing? Is there any way I can support you? And rather than more of a space of, you're going to see the good in this at some point or something. And I'm a very positive person and always have been, but I think it was because I never knew when that would land personally for me. And I think that was just always more challenging. So I try to move to a space of, like I said, more, is there some way I can support you? I'm thinking about you right now. Those simple words, I can have someone let me know they're thinking about me to this day. I mean, we're 18 and this is a lifelong endeavor that we're all a part of. And, even Lynn, when you send me a little, I'm thinking of you. I know it's not just about that aspect of my life. I know it's more than that, but there's always that space where I know that that's, part of the conversation that people are having and thoughts of support. And I find for me, that's how I can receive that at any point in time, really, no matter if I'm having a really great moment or I've just gotten some, more challenging things happening.
Yeah, that's cool. I like to know that. It's nice to know that now, because it's like maybe it sounds like, oh, that's kind of empty because I'm only sending it, I'm thinking of you, but I'm not going to write you a paragraph long text and have you go, and then I need to answer that or answer 18 questions. How's this? How's that? And I'm thinking of you. Maybe that's a good little campaign, is just, be able to be open to somebody and support another mom that way. Like I'm thinking of you support, no matter what, if it's just.
No matter what, because sometimes there's that other curveball that's hitting that you're not even yet aware of as my friend, but it just that support and thought is for me really, I love it. I love to get those little notes, and it doesn't need to be, like you said, this long drawn out anything. Because then sometimes I think when it's something long and drawn out, I feel that I need to then, oh, well, let me sit down and give this big, great response back. And maybe I'm too drained at that moment to do that. And then we're like, that defeats the whole purpose. We're just a quick, I'm thinking of you. I can say thank you so much and receive that and know that, you know, that that's where that can land and it can be really,
yeah. I love that. That's great advice for all moms, for supporting each other through the thick and the thin. And there's some thick, woo, and then there's some thin. You know, I stubbed my toe.
That really hurts, though.
It still hurts, yeah. But no, I think that's great advice. So, and just great conversation. And really, if you want to learn more about Jodie and her story and the story of her daughter, it's on your website, right? Okay, EssentialJodie.com, and I will put it in the. Is it down there? Is that how that works? I will put that link for you to connect with Jodie and see and read more of that story. And even if you don't have a special needs kid, I think all of us moms go through things. I know we all need support. And hey, I'm thinking of you. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I appreciate you doing this for all of us moms out there.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. See you, Jodie.
Bye.
Remember to subscribe.